Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So this is a video, a little late video about the recent Supreme Court rulings on Obamacare and gay marriage. So I originally made a video the day of, these rulings when they came in, but basically that was just a video of me laughing, right? Laughing and taunting and making fun of conservatives. And although I thought it was pretty funny, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think people deserve, my viewers here, deserve a little more than just a video of me, laughing. Okay. Deserve a little more substance. So anyway, here's my second take on this subject. So let's start with Obamacare. In case you haven't heard, it has been upheld again, and the case this time was about a particular wording of a law that said that that the opposition, the Republican opposition, claimed the way it was worded. It was claimed that only the states were allowed to set up an exchange, a healthcare exchange, rather than the federal government. And the problem was that a lot of the states, most notably the Republican states, never actually implemented that, so they never actually set up their state exchanges. But anyway, basically saying that any like the way they interpreted it was that only people that went to a state exchange were eligible for federal subsidies, which thankfully the court struck that down because it's a load of shit. So the thing is that if that were to pass, right, if that did pass, it would have been, like I said before, the Republicans in the red states, which would have been in some serious trouble, because those states are the ones that never set up they never bothered to set up their state exchanges, right? So a lot of the blue states, like California and New York, actually have an exchange set up of healthcare exchange set up by the state that you can go on and you can shop for healthcare, find the best price, and it actually works pretty well. If and I went on it just to check it out. I actually get health insurance for my employer, but my fiance doesn't. So we went on to check it out, and prices are actually pretty reasonable. Most of the time under $100 a month for health insurance, which is not bad at all. I mean, it's roughly the same as car insurance. So didn't always used to be like that. I remember back in the day I used to work at a Starbucks, and they actually provide health insurance for you. This is this is close to a decade ago now. Anyway, but I worked there all through college and a little bit afterwards, and they would give you health insurance for roughly it came to something like $20 a week out of your check. And when I quit there, you get a letter from a corporation called Cobra, which is like actually a pseudo federal agency, kind of, sort of. And what Cobra does is that it allows you to keep your insurance when you're in between employers, right? It allows you to stay on your same insurance, but they up your rates. And they wanted from me, it went from something like $80 a month, it came to like $40 a paycheck, so it was like $80 a month, to $350 for the exact same coverage. I was like, fuck that. So that's the kind of prices that we were paying before. And this is for me, which I was pretty young at the time, and healthy and all that shit. I mean, I can only imagine what it would be for someone who's older and actually has pre-existing conditions and whatever. So anyway, if it were to be repealed, something like 7 million people, mostly in red states, would have lost their coverage, right? So I don't know what the fuck the conservatives and the Republicans are trying to do here, but it would have collapsed the insurance health system would have collapsed in those states. Probably not would have collapsed in the blue states, which actually had the state exchanges, right? Anyway, but this isn't the first time. I mean, there's been 54 attempts in the House to pass legislation to repeal Obamacare. This is the second time it's gone up to the Supreme Court. And if you remember, a few years ago it went up, and that during that ruling they were trying to say that the fine at the end, that was unconstitutional, which no, it isn't. So, I mean, that's the thing, is that, you know, they're focusing, the conservatives and the Republicans are focusing all this time and energy and money trying to repeal something that, which if they were to do, would be politically disastrous for them. I don't understand what the fuck's going on. I think Obamacare at this point for them has just become the go-to issue, that you have to be against it no matter what the actual consequences of it being repealed actually are. You just have to be against it. I mean, they've just kind of talked themselves into a corner. You know, and it's like all the candidates, the GOP candidates for president, they all have an anti-Obamacare stance. It's like, what the fuck are they going to do if one of them manages to get elected and they actually repeal it? They're going to be up shit creek. I don't understand these people. I think the GOP is fucking crazy. So anyway, so that's good news. We all get to still keep our health care. The second ruling was that gay marriage is now legal. And it's not just legal in certain states anymore. It is now legal in every state in the nation. And all I could say to that is, it's about goddamn time. Seriously. How long have we been talking about this shit now? Like, this has been an issue for at least, you know, in the mainstream. This has been an issue since at least the 2004 election that I can remember. I don't know. I mean, it probably before that, but I remember this being in the mainstream since at least then, you know. And it's about time. I mean, why did it fucking take so long? I don't know. But it's actually, though, if you think about it, that's really not that long of a time if you really think. I mean, think about it, like 2004, it was illegal everywhere in the country, right? And actually, some people of, you know, a few things that I read during that time said that that contributed a lot to a second Bush win in 2004 was the issue of gay marriage. Like, people went out to vote for Bush specifically to vote against gay marriage because they thought John Kerry was going to be sympathetic towards it. You know, 10 years later, before this ruling, it was legal in all but 13 states in the country. There was a dramatic turnaround. You know, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was wiped away. The Defense of Marriage Act was, you know, which was passed in 1996. It was done away with. And now it's just completely, it's legal everywhere, you know. I mean, that's how fast, you know, think about 10 years ago. It's not that long ago, you know. What is that, 2005? I mean, that's within recent memory of most of us, you know, most people out there. I mean, I can remember 2005 pretty well. Shit, you know, it's crazy how much things can change in 10 years. But, you know, anyway, getting back to it, it's just really like, I guess it looks like, you know, all the reasons that the conservatives used to try to outlaw it, I guess they were just, you know, unconstitutional after all. I mean, that's really nice, right? But the thing is that you would think that this would be settled. You would think that a Supreme Court ruling would settle the issue and then we could move on. But, of course, it hasn't. You know, a lot of Republicans out there are very butthurt about this. Once again, all of the GOP presidential candidates are all taking an anti-gay marriage stance. You know, Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz have both said in interviews that, you know, they're both against it. And there's something that I've been seeing a lot, is that a lot of them are basically, they're trying to use this as like a reason to like revolt against the government and shit. Like, both Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz have said you could use a process called nullification to get around this. And then there's actually been a couple of things that I've read, like, for example, in Texas, the Attorney General there, his name is Ken Paxton, and he said that clerks can refuse to issue same-sex marriage licenses, and it's through a process called nullification, which unfortunately is against the law. Right? That's the thing, is that, you know, it's funny how conservatives love the Constitution until the Constitution doesn't line up with their ideology. I mean, federal law supersedes state law, and the states are not allowed to pass a law which supersedes federal law. That's just how it works, right? That's in the Constitution. And the fact that all of these guys are saying that it doesn't matter and there's no law and blah, 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 just shows how much they really give a shit about the Constitution. You know, every single conservative out there that says, I love this country, I love the Constitution, if they're against gay marriage, if they're against Obamacare, then guess what? They don't follow the Constitution, because the Constitution says those two things are fucking the law. right? And not only are they it's been proved by the branch of government whose job it is to determine what the law is, to interpret the fucking law. They have come out and supported it. So I don't understand how, the argument should be over by now, right? I mean, the thing is, these have been two, I see these two issues as kind of like they're important, but at the same time they're just like kind of like bullshit rallying cries that conservatives use to scare each other into voting. That's what Obamacare and gay marriage have become, and I just hope that we can just put a lid on it. Finally, it's it's done, it's over with. We can stick a fork in it, and we can actually talk about important things. I think if we're not wasting time talking about gay marriage or Obamacare, maybe we can actually get some actual policy, out of the fucking the Republican candidates. You know what I mean? Like I want to hear what they want to do about Mideast policy. I want to hear what they're going to do about fiscal policy. I want to hear what they're going to say about student loan debt and crime and the prison industrial complex. There's lots of important shit going on in the country, right, that I would like to hear the stances of our political candidates, especially those running for president. I would like to know what they think about. But instead, we're wasting all this fucking time talking about these two issues, which have already been settled. And I'm just glad that this shit's over with. I mean, I just hope the media now moves on to other things, right? Whenever somebody like Ted Cruz or Mike Huckabee wants to talk about gay marriage, they should just shut them down and talk about something else, What about all the other important shit in the country that's happening right now, okay? Because these two issues are done with. That's what I hope. I hope that happens, but it probably won't. They're probably just going to remain a rallying cry for the conservatives to fucking circle jerk themselves with, for the next 50 years, but who knows. Anyway, adios, folks.